Welcome to the Paper Snob. This is Tara. Today I am working on a few hops. First off, I am working on 30 Days of Sketches with Christy's Beautiful Life. And I am working with Day 15 sketch, which was created by Shayla Kolchitsky. And I am going to do only the left half side of this. I do love the sketch as it is. And I might pull it back out to do another actual 2-page layout, but I only have 2 photos for the layout that I'm working on today. The next hop that I'm working on is Mad About Mini paper pads. So I pulled some Felicity Jane 6x6 papers here, and I have a hot mess. So there's a stack, and here's my photos. My stack of Felicity Jane mini papers. I bought these, I think when they went out of business, I just bought like several 6x6 stacks. So there's those. Then the next hop that I'm working on is the Felicity Jane Hop, which I just covered. I have some 6x6 papers. I have this full 12x12 paper, and then I have some chipboard bits and 2 packs of die cut shapes. The fourth hop that I'm working on today is a subscriber hop for Annette, and I will have all of her information linked down below. She gave us a list of items to pick 5 from, and I chose film strips, stickers, die cuts, Nuvo, and texture paste. My film strips are not sitting here because I was considering cutting some. Oh no, I pulled one from 49 Market Vintage Artistry Sunburst, and I have 2 packs of those, and so I pulled one from that set. So if I decide that I don't like that, I'll pull out my dies. I do have a film strip die, a couple of them actually, so I could use that. But I have everything sitting here, and I'm ready to get started with this layout. And I am, of course, accomplishing 4 hops into 1. And so let's see how this goes. I'll be right back. So I want to start with the texture paste from Annette's list first, because it needs time to dry, of course. And I did this on a recent layout for 30 Days of Sketches. I believe it was my Mix It Up Monday layout also. So you can go back and look at that. But I did the same sort of thing, and this is actually a piece of the corrugated paper that was left over from that layout. Now, this yellow is an awful color. I'm just going to put that out there. I do not like neon yellow, but it was the only yellow texture paste that I had, and all of the green texture pastes that I have were not the right shade. So I'm using that yellow, and I'm going to go ahead and set that aside. And while that dries, I'm going to go ahead and cut down my 6x6 paper pads. Now, I am cutting them down into 2-inch squares. And I will cut, I think I cut just 1 strip at a time. And then when I'm putting the layout together, I will cut more if I end up needing them. And what I ended up doing is I made a 2-inch square border on the bottom of the layout, and then I skipped a space for my corrugated paper and my daisy trim that I'm using on the layout, and then I added a couple of 1-inch squares from the same 6x6 paper pad. So in essence, I have like a full background on the bottom, and then I have a border with smaller squares. So here I'm just, like I said, I am cutting these down. I'm only cutting it down 1 strip at a time. I think I end up cutting down 2 of the strips for the entire layout, and some of those squares I ended up cutting into 4 so that I could do the 1-inch squares. I just liked the way that the differentiation between the 2 square sizes looked on this layout. This is not a new concept, of course. If you pay attention to Allison Davis, who is the daughter and part owner of Scrapbook Generation, you know that she does this sort of thing all the time with her 6x6 paper pads, and she has a current class that I'm actually taking, and we are playing with squares. Ironically, the first week we were playing with 2-inch squares just like this, but we were cutting them in half. Anyway, great class. She's a great teacher. So now I'm just kind of playing along with these squares here because I'm going to try to get them lined up on this 12x12 background paper. This wood grain paper is also Felicity Jane. It is not from the same collection, at least I don't think so. I didn't pay attention to the collection when I pulled it out. I do not own a whole lot of Felicity Jane. I did not ever subscribe to their kit club, but I did buy a few things once in a while, and when they closed down their shop, I actually bought several of their collections, but almost no embellishments. Those 3 packs of embellishments that I showed you at the beginning of the video are what I have. So I don't even think I have a single sheet of paper that matches any of those embellishments. It's sad but true. So I will eventually use them. I've been pulling from them off and on since I've gotten them. They are sitting on the calyx behind me where I'm actually standing in this video working. And I do grab from them like when I'm building my counterfeit kits, etc. So I am doing 3 lines of these 2-inch squares on here, and I am just kind of trying to make sure I don't put any of the 2 same patterns side by side, and I discovered that ended up being kind of difficult, so I just had to kind of play around with placement on here until I got it the way that I wanted. I am also going to warn you, I will be hand stitching on this layout, and I will not be doing that on camera. It does take me about a day and a half to get all of the stitching complete, so I didn't want to try to do that on camera. I do, every once in a while, I'll do a video where it's super sped up, and then I will show some hand stitching. I don't remember which of my videos have those, but there are a couple down below. If you wanted to start watching my content, you could potentially find those layouts where I have done stitching on camera. So here's where I'm taking the 2-inch squares and I'm cutting them down into 4 1-inch squares just so that I can create this next border. I do put a pencil line on here so that I know where to start the border, and then I will get everything on that way everything will be lined up easily on my page, because one thing I do not like is when I'm playing with small pieces like this is when things don't line up correctly. It makes me crazy. So I do use a pencil line, and I will erase it when I'm done. Like I said, I make pencil lines for all of the stitching. I don't always make pencil lines for stitching, but for the way that I am stitching this particular layout, I did, because I wanted to make sure that they were straight. If I'm just doing simple stitching, I don't typically draw lines at all. But for this layout, I did. And like I said, I will do all of that off camera. Now, I've got all of those squares are cut down. I'm cutting these borders in half because to make the flowers fit across, I would have had to put another flower. I would have had to cut an additional flower, but then it would have been too long. So I ended up being just slightly too short, but because I know photos are going to go in the middle, I'm just cutting both of these items in half-ish so that they will show up on the actual ends. Now here is where I'm using my Omnigrid ruler. This is my ruler of choice. I adore this ruler, and it is one that I find very easy to use. So I drew the line. Now I'm going to go ahead and get these 2 rows of squares on here. And again, I'm trying to make sure that none of the same ones touch. And it does get kind of difficult. Like, I don't always, managed to not get them to touch at all. You can see in my bottom row, I've got a couple of yellows and a couple of greens. Actually, I think there's 3 greens in a row there that are touching diagonally, but they're not touching side by side. And so that's what I'm trying to avoid, is for them touching side by side. So as I get these on here, I'm just kind of trying to alternate them as well as I can. And I don't like when I have this little issue here. Do you see the issue that I ended up with? It's a 12-inch piece of paper. They're 1-inch squares. Why is that hanging off a 1/4 inch? That makes me crazy. And I was very careful cutting those squares, so I don't understand. Maybe my paper isn't exactly 12 inches, but then the 2-inch ones fit just fine on the bottom. It's a mystery. It is a total mystery. So I don't know what the deal is, but I end up just trimming it off, and it doesn't look that bad. It just super annoyed me that happened, because it made absolutely no sense. And I do wonder, maybe that square wasn't actually 1 inch by 1 inch. Who knows? Craziness. So I'm about done with this part, and I get those, like I said, I get those all on here, and then I'm quite happy with the placement here, and I'm just kind of finagling those around. And see, the top one fit okay, but not perfectly. It's strange. So now I'm back. I've done all of the stitching, and like I said, that did take me a little bit of time. I said 1.5 days. Actually, it took probably 3 or 4 hours total. And I'm trying to do this sketch as closely as possible from the left-hand side. The problem that I'm having, of course, is I only have 2 photos, and the layout has 3. And I also don't have landscape photos. My photos are portrait. So I'm just making this kind of work. And this film strip is one of the additional pieces that Annette asked, that was in Annette's list. And I'm going to cut it down, because I only want to use this top side that has the green and the yellow. It's the closest to my colors. And I'm just going to kind of make a small embellishment cluster up there in that upper left-hand corner. I thought about putting those die cuts there. That is one of the elements on the Annette's list, is die cuts. I don't end up using both of those, but I do end up using the tab and those 2 hearts, which are die cuts from the Felicity Jane collection, and then a phrase from the Felicity Jane collection as well. So now I'm just going to kind of look around and see what I have to build. One of the other items on her list that I chose was stickers, and I want to make sure that I use a couple of these stickers. These stickers are from a Simple Stories collection that I absolutely adore. I ended up with 2 of these sticker books. So I put one of them in one of my counterfeit kits last fall, and I've just left it in my box of miscellaneous counterfeit kits to just kind of pull out and use as I can. So I'm flipping through this book, and I know that I want to pull out this sun, because I have a die cut from Felicity Jane that says Hello Sunshine, and I do want to use that. So it's going to end up over here on my library card envelope that I have my journaling in. I have not written any journaling on it yet. I will do that later. I layered up a cloud, and I layered up a wreath over there, and I think I end up adding a bird as well. I was just looking back and forth, just trying to find stickers that would go well with this. There's a lot of phrase stickers in this book, but I'd already had enough wordy bits on my layout with my title, and I ended up with 3 phrases. That circle on the left photo actually says love this, and so I just felt like I didn't need to bring in any more phrases. So here is where I'm going to start adding some of the other little stickers. There's a bunch of small hearts on here, and I think that those are cute and they work fairly well. I'm going to be putting some Nuvo at the end of the video, and I'll do that right on camera as I'm talking about the finished layout. But I'm going to be using some Nuvo drops as well. I had those are listed on Annette's list, and I pulled them to use for this layout. I did use some Nuvo on that corrugated paper, and I'm pretty happy with the way this looks now. All right, I got my layout completely finished. Pretty happy with the way that it turned out. Got gonna add a little Nuvo drop here, and one here, and one here. These, of course, if you are not familiar with them, do take a little bit of time to dry. So this will have to be put aside until it does dry, and that is perfectly fine with me. So I really love Nuvo drops, and I really need to use them more often, but I don't always grab for them. You know, if I could just keep everything in my room within arm's reach, I'd probably use more stuff a lot more often. Anyway, so the layout is complete. I'm really pleased with the way that it turned out. I did manage to get all 4 hops into this one layout and video, which makes me super happy. Those 4 hops are 30 Days of Sketches with Christy's Beautiful Life, Series 17. We have this gorgeous 2-page sketch from Shayla for day 15, which is today. I only used the left-hand side. I love that sketch, and I think I might take it with me over to a friend's house tomorrow while we're scrapbooking, and I may go ahead and try to use it a second time. If I do, maybe I'll have a picture of that layout at the end of the video for you. I also am participating in Annette's 500 subscribers hop today. She gave us a recipe challenge, a pick 5. I told you what those pieces were at the beginning of the video, and I managed to get them all on here. It's Nuvo drops, which I used in dot form, but I also used them with my texture paste. Texture paste was the second thing. The stickers, and I don't remember what else I chose. Oh, film strips. And there was a 4th item that I chose. I'm pretty pleased with how this came together. The Felicity Jane Hop, of course, is hosted by a new friend, and she asked that we use Felicity Jane. I don't have very many Felicity Jane embellishments. There are a few on here. This circle, this little cluster here, and this here, plus my tag and my library card holder are all Felicity Jane embellishments. The papers are all Felicity Jane, including that 12 by 12 wood grain. The 4th hop is Mad About Mini paper pads, and of course I use Felicity Jane 6 by 6 paper pads to complete this layout. So I managed to get them all on here. That makes me super happy. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, I would love it if you'd give me that thumbs up. If you are new here, I would absolutely love to have you as a subscriber. I also want to point you to my description box. There are playlists listed below for you. Please click on those and watch all of those different hops, so that you can see where all the creative goodness comes from on these hops. You will be amazed. My friends are super creative. They're super amazing. I also want to congratulate Annette again for getting 500 scraps. Let's help subscribers. Let's help her get to 1,000. So if you are new to her channel, when you click over there, please subscribe to her. Hopefully she'll get a few more subscribers today, and by the end of the year, maybe we'll be celebrating a 1,000 hop for her. I hope that you guys have a great rest of your Saturday. Bye.